it's interesting.
For those of you who are just joining us, this is the top 8. Now remember, in between games, we are going to give away 3 free months of premium. But so pay attention in between games so that you can get 3 free months of Star City Games Premium.
And we'll be asking you guys a trivia question just after game 1 here. And as soon as the match ends, we will tell you the answer and announce the winner. We'll have to talk. I mean, I've been saying it all day, but I haven't gotten a chance to actually chat with Gerry since we've seen him play. And I really want to understand, like, what was the logic behind cutting Sun Titan.
Yeah, I mean, after he brought
it up in his
the
article.
specifics of how Sun Titan Phantasmal Image, he specifically says it's a better kind of Consecrated Sphinx. And now he's not playing it. He's instead gone to Consecrated Sphinx. What was his logic? It's an interesting question. Scott and Gerry shuffling it up. Shuffle them up.
You heard that song before? On the Gathering album? That was
Actually,
the first,
I heard it before that when I was in the lyrics.
That's right. You had the original version.
Yeah.
What was the line?
You know you're gonna mulligan. My ex got hit on by Adrian Sullivan.
Yeah. That's it.
Gerry follows up Scott's first land play with a Celestial Colonnade, and we see a second land from Scott. One of the weapons that's very valuable in this matchup is Sword of Feast and Famine. Gerry runs 0 Sword of Feast and Famine.
And we have Squadron Hawk meets Mana Leak from Scott.
Gerry's mental missteps are going to actually be fairly valuable here. One thing to remember in this quarterfinals, as well as the rest of the top 8, these players get to look at each other's deck lists, so there are no surprises. You know exactly what it is your opponent can do to fight you.
So a Ponder from Scott.
A big part of that was
reorders his top 3 and draws a card. Looks like he's about to play a Scalding Tarn, I think. I don't know. He's going to play a Preordain instead. And he already knows what those 2 cards are, and it is Preordain, and didn't quite catch what that second card was, but I believe it's bottom. Was it bottom? No, he kept one. Okay, he wanted both of his cards in hand, so plays an Island and another Ponder. He sees Island, Gataxian Probe, Splinter Twin is what I think I just saw there. And he decides to shuffle.
The early dance of
I believe he just
these 2 decks.
Leak off of that?
Yeah, there was a counterspell. He's got an Emeria Angel in his hand. I believe 2 fetch lands in his hand. A 4th land from Scott Blumenthal.
And a
Ponder.
third Ponder. That's the 3rd Ponder of the game. He's pondered, Preordained.
Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. None of those cards are any good.
And I want to say that was an Exarch off the top, I'm pretty sure.
Gerry draws something with Glare. And shuffles it into his hand.
Subdual, I don't think.
Glare of Subdual. That's a good card. Okay, a Tectonic Edge number 2 drops it into play.
Gerry just playing Draw Go.
Gerry does nothing EOT, so it's 4 lands v 4 lands. I think there's an island. Yep, there's one of the fetch lands in his hand.
He's got a
Jace.
Definitely, he just drew a Jace. So.
Jace, Emeria, Scalding Tarns.
Looks like, does he have multiple either missteps or Mana Leaks? Which, if they can't be missteps, because I think he would have been misstepping some of these Ponders and Preordains.
Lays a Jace.
But then again, maybe not.
Now remember, Scott has access to Mana Leak and Dispel,
right,
but does not have access to Spell Pierce. His sideboard has 1 Spell Pierce, just to keep somebody honest, I suppose.
So Gerry forced to tap both of his color-producing lands. Scott is cracking a fetch land.
And here comes Exarch in response, while Gerry has no access to mana to counter it. Or is that after the draw? Or during... Gerry has land in his hand, so he's tapping that land now. Gerry draws, and he has another land, looks like a Glacial Fortress. That would come into play tapped if he laid it.
Yeah. So it
plays a Scalding Tarn instead. Says go. Scott could go for the win right here. Potentially. There it is in his hand. He's going to fetch.
Yeah, if he has Dispel, he's in great shape right now because he can play Splinter Twin with Dispel backup.
And remember, Gerry does have Mental Missteps main, so he can still fight this fight.
He certainly
if
can.
He has them in his hand. If he has a Dismember and then a Mental Misstep, he's still alive.
So
Cracks.
Here we go. Crack a fetch.
Gets a Dismember.
Dispel.
And there's the Mental Misstep. So that's going to be the end of that counter war.
And notably, takes care of both halves of that combo.
2 cards for 3 cards. This is a win for Gerry.
Yeah.
And Scott is tapped out. This gives Gerry the opportunity to lay a Myria Angel and crack a land. Ticks down the Jace Bellerin. Lays a Myria Angel. And then lays a fetch land and fetches it immediately, giving him a total of 5 power on the board. 2 mana open.
I was thinking that Gerry had multiple Mental Missteps in his hand. Doesn't look that way.
Looks like we're going to see end of the turn a Halimar Depths destroyed by the Tectonic Edge. One of the 2 that he had in play.
And another one added to the board, though. So,
Gerry has Scott on a 3-turn clock here, I believe. Assuming nothing happens, it's going to be 5 damage, followed by 6 damage, followed by 7 or more damage because of that Celestial Colonnade.
Yeah. Interesting choice of bird tokens there. I know they had some bird tokens earlier. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, it's more fun to look at advertisements for the game than to look at birds.
Enough. These aren't even faux hawks.
Wah, wah.
So Jace hits the graveyard, allowing Gerry to draw a card. Gerry trying to make a decision here, and I wonder... I mean, I'm having trouble... Yeah, he's got multiple lands in his hand, which is good for the Myria Angel.
Lays the Seachrome Coast. Comes in for 5. Knocks Scott down to 13. Scott does not do anything end of turn. And Gerry hits the Halimar Depth with his Tectonic Edge during upkeep. Scott says go. And now Gerry can come in for 6 and threaten 7 for lethal on the subsequent turn. Actually, now with a fetch land, he can threaten 8.
Yeah, it's interesting because Gerry seems to be flooded, but being flooded with lands when you have an Myria Angel is pretty decent, especially when some of those lands are tech edges. He's now tech edged 2 of Scott's lands, keeping Scott behind. And of course, that turn where Scott went for the kill was kind of a blowout.
Here we go, another attempt at the kill.
Yeah, but Gerry is entirely untapped right now. So
does he have anything? Is the question.
I don't know. That we're going to find out. But it does seem pretty bold to play a Deceiver Exarch into 6 untapped mana.
And it resolves and taps a Celestial Colonnade. And I believe I see a Dispel in Scott's hand, but he just says, whatever, do you have it? I've got a... Into the Royal means that Scott will die.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, the Dispel doesn't matter when you don't have the land to...
That's Gerry's only Into the Royal, but he did have, besides that, 2 Dismembers in his deck. So he has 3 instant answers to combo.
Right, and he had two of them exactly when he needed them. He had the mental missteps for the Dispel, and he also wisely was tech edging the Halimar depths that Scott was playing. So Scott didn't have the additional blue mana to pay for a Dispel, which I believe I didn't see it, but if he had it in hand,
He was tapped out.
Yeah.
He did have a Dispel in hand, but he did not have the mana because of Gerry's play.
Exactly. So Gerry takes game 1.
Now, game 2, Gerry has access to interesting cards.
Mm-hmm.
Psychic Barrier, I think, is actually a solid card. We saw the value of Mental Misstep. I think both of those cards are likely to come in, and I would be unsurprised to see Dispel as a way to fight against against opposing Dispels, against Into the Royal, against Mana Leak from his opponent.
Right.
It might not be good enough, but I think it might be. Flash Freeze is something we've seen these decks bring in. It's kind of been a question mark whether or not that's correct or not. I know that I've definitely seen people say that it's exactly what you should do, and I've heard people say that you should never do that. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it only hits one half of the combo, but that is
it's an important half.
That's pretty valuable. Yeah, I mean, it's being able to hit that Splinter Twin. The problem is it's just a dead card otherwise.
Now, Torpor Orb,
for the most part, anyway,
is another card that could be potentially possible for Gerry to bring in. The problem with Torpor Orb is that Torpor Orb does shut off Squadron Hawk for Gerry, but what it does also is shut off the combo effect for Scott.
Right. So, like we were saying earlier, it's very. I think it's very much more in Gerry's favor to have that Torpor Orb in play, even if he loses the ability to use the Squadron Hawk to fetch. So
now,
we're gonna ask a question.
That's right.
Give you guys a trivia question and an opportunity to win 3 months of Star City Games Premium. Right. Do you have a question?
I do have one, but you can go ahead.
Well, we have 2 questions.
Oh my goodness!
You can
go. You can go. Your question's probably going to be the same as mine. Let's find out.
I don't know. It could be different. I had 2 actually in mind. Okay, so here's your question. To win Star City Games Premium, you would tweet with the hashtag SCG Premium, as you can see on your screen now. What archetype did both Adrian and I say that we would have played at this tournament that was not in the top 8?
Wow.
It did not make the top 8.
That is a question for those of you who've been paying attention.
Yeah.
Now, I actually asked you earlier about this archetype. Mm-hmm. What archetype would you play? Mm-hmm. And your answer for play to win and for you to play to have fun.
Right.
It was the same answer for you.
That's true. It was different for you, but
it was different for me.
For
me, my to win answer was the exact same one. So the question: go to tweet at the hashtag SCG Premium. That's hashtag SCG Premium. The answer to the question: what archetype did not make the top 8 that Joey and I both thought was going to make the top 8?
Yeah, that we both. Yeah, it would have been the one that we would have played.
We would have both played this deck. Yeah.
To win, if we wanted to win.
If we wanted to, and for those of you been watching, you're going to have a good chance of understanding what this answer is.
Yeah.
For those of you who have a sense of what I like to play in general, you might be surprised by what my answer was.
Mm-hmm.
And
for those of you who know me or even happen to read the Twitter name under my name on the screen right now, you might have some sort of clue as to what I would have played.
right. And I'm going to make sure
put the pieces together.
I'm going to make sure that we get that on the SCG Premium.
Are you tweeting it or is
I will tweet that for you.
You're going to take care of it, Jeremy?
Okay, Jeremy has already tweeted it for us. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah. So we're going to have that answer from, hopefully, one of you lucky people will be a recipient of 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. Now, going back to the sideboarding options, now we're talking about Torpor Orb here for Gerry Thompson. Now, Gerry has had an opportunity to look at Scott Blumenthal's deck list. Mm-hmm. So, aside from being a Deceiver Twin combo deck, his alternate win condition is Inferno Titan,
right?
Which it both speaks to the possibility of Torpor Orb or Flash Freeze being potentially of value.
Yeah.
Now,
and of course Gerry knows this because he's seen the list.
Now, Torpor Orb has value because it can't be dispelled, but one thing Torpor Orb doesn't do is it doesn't stop Inferno Titan from hitting play, which is pretty big deal.
Right.
Nor does it stop Inferno Titan's attack
trigger.
From triggering.
Right. So, Gerry Thompson, another top 8 for Gerry Thompson.
He's got so many. I mean, he made a decision a while back to just, commit to the Star City Games Open Series. And one of the things that's being rewarded for him, he gets as a very high level mage. What level is he? Is he level 8?
Oh, he's at the top.
Yeah, he's at the pinnacle of the Star City Games.
Is there a level
reward
higher than
series.
8? Because he's that,
Well,
whatever that is.
I think that would be Edgar, if there's the king of the hill, right?
Yeah,
And
they're up there.
one of the things that is a reward for that is a free playset of every set that's coming out. And one of the things coming out very soon, Innistrad.
Innistrad already up for pre-order on StarCityGames.com.
And Jerry's going to be getting his set as soon as that comes.
Yeah, Liliana the Veil.
I'm
New
so
Garrett
curious.
Planeswalker. I mean, it seems like, I guess there's a potential for the storyline, Garrick, to lose his spark and become a creature. Because Teferi, that's what happened to Teferi. Teferi was a Planeswalker in the storyline, and then in the Time Spiral storyline lost his spark, and he was printed as a creature in Time Spiral. So that could be what the deal is, but there is pretty good evidence that some form of Garrick is showing up in Innistrad, just in the form of the artwork on the Ultra Pro product.
I just hope that Jaya Ballard shows up as an actual Planeswalker. Oh.
Not in Innistrad, probably, but that
You
would be
never
cool,
know.
though.
You
That
never
would
know.
be really cool. Like, to me, I'm such a big fan of the old, like, Dominarian storyline. The whole thing with the Thran and Phyrexia and Urza and Mishra and all that Gerard.
Wasn't Jaya didn't she?
She was actually in the Ice Age, and that stuff too. That was all like she was with.
See,
that
I don't know
storyline.
I don't know any of the storyline stuff. I mean, when I want to know storyline stuff, I think there's 2 people that I would go to that are like people that might know, like Matt Danner, for those of you who know the people that are on the Magic Cruise.
Right.
He's also the guy that made that huge, whatever you call them, those box.
Oh yeah.
Thing.
I
At
know
U.S.
what you mean.
Nationals 2 years ago, he had that huge card sculpture.
Box.
I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
And Gerry Thompson gets the start. The other one was going to be Adam Jansen from Chicago, a red mage extraordinaire. Gerry Thompson follows up the island from Scott with a Celestial Colonnade of his own. And then we got a Scalding Tarn. Scott sacks it. We're going to find out if it's going to be a mountain or an island. Looks like he's got the classic unglued island there.
Yeah, that's I play with those in my Legacy decks.
I've never been a fan of the full art lands.
I mean, I appreciate all of the different ones, but I do like the full art lands. So there's a Shrine of Piercing Vision for Scott, and Gerry just says land go. Scott now with a ponder. Now, Gerry thinks. Gerry ponders while the shrine ticks up, and Scott resolves the ponder. Yeah, as far as storyline goes, I read a lot of the old stuff, and I read all the way up until I read the Lorwyn novel, and then I didn't read anything. It was around then where I started just to fall off, and some of the books are just so bad, and I just got tired of it. I read the Zendikar. I started reading the Zendikar novel, read 150 pages of it, was bored and stopped, and that was the last thing I read. So.
Okay, we got a third land here from Scott to join his Shrine of Piercing Visions. 2 islands and a mountain. And Gerry lays his third land, Seacrom Coast, and a Jace tapping down. Jace does resolve, and Gerry draws a card immediately. It looks like Gerry is playing the same island that Scott is playing.
Mm-hmm. It's a popular metagame call, I think.
My favorite island is Lightning Bolt Island. Not the new Lightning Bolt Island, but the old Lightning Bolt Island.
Saga?
Yeah, Saga.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. There's a lot of people like those lightning bolts on their lands.
I actually try to play lands that have lightning bolts on them, unless it's a mountain.
Isn't there plains?
Yeah. There's a plains lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Plains. That's the plains I play.
Yeah. It seems pretty popular. I'm not that big of a fan of either of those. I like John Avon lands a lot.
Scalding Tarn is cracked by Scott to get a second mountain in play.
So the Zendikar, the John Avon Zendikar island, I love. The Unhinged, I always get Unhinged and Unglued. So that's Unglued. So the Unhinged islands, I love. All the Unhinged lands, in fact.
I guess, to be fair, the only lightning bolt lands I play are Lightning Bolt Plains and Lightning Bolt Island.
Can't even picture Lightning Bolt anything else, to be honest with you. So there's a Slag Storm from Scott. That's a one of, is it, in his sideboard? No, he's got 3 in the sideboard. Okay. There's a...
I don't think there's anything wrong with that against a Myria Angel.
Yeah, Myria Angel and takes out the Jace. That's exactly what he did there. Took out the Jace.
It seems like a very reasonable call for this particular version of Caw that he's playing against.
Gerry now preordaining and gets another preordain, and looks like he's about to cast it. So another preordain here. Look at the top 2, bottom, bottom. Gerry gets a fresh look off the top, and it is another preordain. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
You know, it's interesting you bring up John Avon as your favorite land, because my favorite forest
is John
Avon's 7th
edition.
edition, card number 331, Forest. Preordain here, just ticks up the Shrine of Piercing Visions.
The judge is now in charge of ticking up the shrine. Apparently, that's the hand we keep seeing. There's a just extra 5th hand, you know, coming into the screen, into the frame, and ticking up the shrine. So, not a lot going on, just a lot of preordaining and pondering. And there is another preordain from Gerry, his 3rd. Looks like they may be going bottom, bottom. He's thinking about it. Looks at them again. What were they again? I already forgot. There's a lot of decision making going on here, whatever those are.
Now, one of the things that is a part of why Caw in general, Caw Blade, Caw Go, is a deck that rewards play skill, is just the sheer amount of, particularly in the old builds, tutoring. Your Mystics, your Preordains, which is not a tutor, but just kind of a filtering to your deck, your Hawks. Just ends up being a lot of options that happen. Go back to Scott Blumenthal. We're going to get a tick up on the Shrine.
And he sacrifices the shrine. I'm not sure how many that was, but it was quite a bit. I want to say 6, 7, possibly 8 counters. I think it was 6.
2.
It was more than 2.
What's that?
I'm not sure what you mean.
No worries. As of this point,
there's an island for Scott.
Closing in on the 13-hour mark of Magic today.
Unbelievable, yeah, you're right.
Scalding Tarns from Gerry. He goes Scalding Tarns go. And it's returned by an Arid Mesa go. Island go.
Both players just adding land after land to the board.
No land from Scott.
Go.
6 lands to Jerry's currently 7. Could be 8.
And Gerry definitely has a tech edge in hand. Yeah, there it is. There's a Jace. After playing that tech edge and tapping 2 islands alongside the tech edge. Jace. Beleren is on the stack. The Seer Exarch now on the stack. I think he's hanging out with Jace there. Both those guys hanging out on the stack.
Gerry has a lot of mana open here.
Yeah, there really is. Significantly more on Gerry's side. 5 lands to Scott's 3 untapped. I think Gerry has Psychic Barrier in hand.
I love Psychic Barrier. So good.
I think that's what I just saw. I think that, yeah, that's what's at the front of his hand. So, looks like Exarch resolved, untapped one of Scat's islands. Jace now resolves. Gerry now deciding whether he wants it to tick up or down. Down it is. So, draws a mana leak off of Jace. Gerry's got a ton of untapped lands. Scott, though, has a Deceiver Exarch in play and definitely has their Splinter Twin in hand. Now, can he cast and protect this Splinter Twin successfully? Something he was not able to do in Game 1. He had a way to protect it, but it was met with a mental misstep from Gerry.
Gerry has been really, really advocating for Mental Misstep over Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've been really impressed by his mental missteps every time that I've talked to him and every time that I've watched it play out.
Yeah, I mean, the card is really good. You got to just look at the format and think about what important 1-drops there are that you want to be countering. That's why it's so good in Legacy, because there are so many good 1-drops. And that's partly why it was banned in Modern, because there's so many good 1-drops that are aggro related that Wizards wanted aggro to be viable. They didn't want people to, just have one card that shuts down Zoo decks entirely or other aggro decks.
The coolest thing about Mental Misstep?
What's that? It's blue. Counters a spell. It's free.
You don't even have to be blue and you can play it. If you're
That's
Jim
true.
Davis, you can put it right in your Goblin deck.
It's pretty awesome. So Exarch attacks Jace down to 1 counter after Scott ponders a bit on his turn with the actual card pondered. Jace ticks up, gives Scott a card, gets a card of his own, and passes the turn after dropping a land. 9 mana on Gerry's side of the board.
It's a lot of ability to fight a war if he has the cards. Azure Mage from Scott. That is an... Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Gerry slams the
hammer.
barrier on that.
No, sir.
You cannot have an Azure Mage. That is, he is adamantly fighting that Azure Mage. Not only will I counter it, but I'll also slap it with my card. Physically assault it.
His whole hand dropped on top of it. I think we're going to see a Dispel, perhaps? There it is, Dispel.
If you want to fight over an Azure Mage...
I have no problem being Scott and saying, let's fight on this one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the other side of it, where I feel like if you want to waste your protection spells... I guess it's the same thing, it's Gerry wasting his too, but I guess... you could see it going both ways. I guess that makes sense. Gerry has a mental misstep available. In fact, he may have multiple mental missteps.
Mental misstep.
There is 1 mental misstep.
Look at that. We got 4 cards on the stack currently.
4 cards. This isn't a vampires match.
And then here we go. He pays the life because he wants to have the mana available for the Azure Mage.
2 missteps. I gotta stop. Alright, yeah. Straighten this stack out here. We have... Yeah, that's hitting that. So right now, Scott is winning this. He's getting an Azure Mage at this point if Gerry does not have an answer. So... Okay, so Gerry takes all of his spells off the stack, and Azure Mage resolves.
Here comes some powerful spell. Into the Royal with Kicker.
I believe that was an end of turn into the Royal with Kicker. Scott not enough... he does have enough mana to have activated it and drawn a card, but I suppose he wants that mana open in case Gerry decides he wants to go crazy. Play spells that are really going to be a problem. But judging as how this game played out so far, or this match in general, Gerry's content to play land go for a while.
Gerry should be content with that. I mean, right now he's got a mana advantage. He's got a Jace already on the table, and his card selection after sideboarding seems to have a large number of counterspells. He's in a great position here. Squadron Hawk is cast, and it's going to finally put a clock of some sorts on the table.
The Squadron Clock. So it sounds like Anthony Petronik dispatched Peter Ingram in record time and advances to the semifinals tomorrow morning.
I'm excited about that. I mean,
Yeah,
even if it is
red list, yeah.
even if it is unintentionally not the correct build of the list, one of the things that's really interesting is by fitting in a couple of heroes, I think it makes it even better against decks like a Clawblade style. Chandra's Phoenix is already really, really powerful. I'm excited to see that tomorrow morning. And continuing on with Gerry's turn, we get a second Hawk. And looks to be like a 70th or 80th land there.
Yeah, I believe it's just the 10th land.
Okay.
Just the 10th land.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the table, we also have a fair amount of land. 7 land, Deceiver Exarch.
Ponder from Scott. Gerry.
And that's the fishy ponder that you prefer. Inferno Titan amongst the cards. It looks like a Preordain as well. And one other card that is hidden from view currently.
Yeah, Inferno Titan could be a real problem if Gerry doesn't have an answer for it. He does have a lot of lands, but does he have spells that are going to matter against it?
Gerry potentially has access to Flash Freeze from the sideboard.
Right. We saw him use his one Psychic Barrier already, so...
We see our tapping of 2 lands here.
And there's
Azure Mage number 2,
Mana Leak.
He's got 4 mana up, but Scott has to ask himself if he wants to spend it. Let's pretend that Scott were to spend it. If Gerry were just to lay a Consecrated Sphinx on the table, that would be very, very problematic. I mean, with this much mana up, a Consecrated Sphinx would just fill Gerry's hand full of such supercharged gas, particularly with a Jace Beller in there, able to go +1 or +2 and give Gerry extra cards off of Scott. Now, I don't know that Gerry has a Consecrated Sphinx in hand, but tapping down is dangerous at this stage in the game. We're going to see...
looks like
spends the 3.
Doing it anyway, yeah.
A second Mana Leak is used. The Force of Will-like counterspell effect. Gerry not only dispatching his opponent, but he kills an insect, meanwhile, at the same time. Ninja skills.
That is not something you see every day.
This actually reminds me of an interview that Barack Obama had. While during the interview, he kills a fly.
All right, so Colonnade and 2 Hawks coming over to play.
6 damage halves Scott Blumenthal's life. This leaves a 6th land open after attacking with the Colonnade.
Has so many lands. And the cool thing is, like, I mean, even though Scott has a lot of lands in play, Gerry's already made great use of those Mana Leaks. You'd think, Mana Leak losing so much value at this point in the game.
Yeah, Mana Leak is one of those really interesting cards in this matchup that its value goes away very rapidly.
Yeah, but like Gerry was able to get value out of them anyway.
Run off 2 of them to get the card, and you're okay with doing that.
But tapping Scott out now. Unfortunately, he couldn't capitalize on it with the Sphinx, but he was able to capitalize on it pretty well with Colonnade. So there's Splinter Twin. There's a Flash Freeze.
So we do have confirmation that the Flash Freezes are here. Mana Leak to tap Gerry down again, and it could be very well the Mana Leak that we saw from before. Gerry pays.
Second Mana Leak.
And there are so few people left here in the venue that we're going to have to make sure we keep our voices down a little bit because there's just not all of the background noise interrupting.
Yeah,
so we're going to be a little bit cautious. Now, meanwhile, we just see the combo assembled by Scott Blumenthal. So we have a 1-to-1 match going into Game 3. That leaves going back to the sideboard here. See Gerry reevaluating, trying to see if he wants to change anything, either based on the fact that he's going first or just based on a reevaluation of Scott's plan.
He's probably bringing O-rings back in as a mage.
Yeah. AJ, can't even speak. AJ Soccer suggests that could be Oblivion Rings coming back in because of the Azure Mages.
Those of you maybe just joining us, we're watching the top 8 quarterfinals here in Boston. Star City Games Open Series. Got Scott Blumenthal on the left playing the Exarch Twin combo, which he just was able to assemble just moments ago to take this match to Game 3 against Gerry Thompson. Gerry Thompson playing Call Go. While these guys are sideboarding, we're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back with Game 3.